Hello everyone, welcome to the new series HTML, Lesson 1, Introduction, where we learn all there is to know about HTML and how to create a website. Our goal for today's lesson is to know what is HTML, why learn HTML and the basics of HTML syntax. So first of all, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it was made to create websites or web pages. Second question, why learn HTML? If you want to understand, design, and create web pages like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, for example, you have to know HTML. HTML is nearly ubiquitous on the internet. Okay, now let's dive into HTML basics. An HTML file must always start with .type HTML to tell the browser like Google, Firefox, Bing that this is an HTML file. Now don't get mistaken, an HTML file is not something special. It really is just a text file. When you open a new file in a code editor like Visual Studio Code or Notepad++, this is the first thing that you'll type in, .type HTML, and then HTML and close it. Just think of these as boxes inside of boxes, like a matryoshka doll, so to speak, right? If you open a tag, like the HTML tag, you have to close it. Next, inside of the HTML tag, we have the head tag, open and close. And then next is the body tag, open and close. And if you're wondering, what do you put inside of the head? The head stores the website's information, also where you link this HTML file with other files. So basically, it's like everything in the back that the users don't see. And for the body part, what is in the body part? So the body tag is where you want to put things that you want the users to see. Alright, let's move on to the first thing that you can put inside of the head tags. Title. Here I put my title as my first website. And if you open a tag, you always must close it, right? Open title, close the title. Next, for the body. In the body, I put the P tag. P stands for paragraph, which is also why I wrote this is my first paragraph here. And like all things, if you open a tag, like the P tag, you also must close it. Alright, so let's see what all of this look like when they're put together. First, you have the type HTML, and then open HTML, closing HTML, and the head tag. Inside of the head tag, we have the title, which we put as my first website. And then next, we have the body tag. Inside the body tag, we have the paragraph, or the P tag, sorry. This is my first paragraph. Close the body, and that's it. As you can see here, I've copy and pasted what we've learned into Notepad++, and then I'm going to press Ctrl S to save. Then choose where you want to save this file. I put it in the desktop folder, and then I'll save it as my first website, .html, and then save. And then I'll click on it. As you can see here, we have the title, my first website, and then this is my first paragraph. Alright everyone, thank you for being with me here today. See you next lesson, and remember, learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye! Alright everyone, welcome to lesson number 2 of HTML. Before we move on to further studies, I want you to download Visual Studio Code and create folders, right? Folder structure. So what I want you to do is I want you to type in Visual Studio Code on your browser, any browser you want, Firefox, Google, and then you click on the link, and here Visual Studio Code, the website, it gives you option for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Just use whichever you want, but for my system, I'm going to go with Windows. Alright, And while it downloads, you can actually have a preview of what Visual Studio Code can do for you. All right, everyone? When the download finish, I want you to go to the folder downloads or whichever folder the file has downloaded to and click on the execution file or the setup. Run, and then accept the agreement, click next. This is asking which folder you want to store Visual Studio Code on. I'm just going to go with the default, which is local programs, but you can click on browse and choose whichever folder you want. Here it is asking whether or not you want a shortcut. So a shortcut, you just click on it and it automatically runs Visual Studio Code. You don't have to go to the main folder. Once again, next, and then create desktop icon. Next, and install. And for now, let's not launch Visual Studio Code. I want you to create folders before we move on to it. Let's untick this and click Finish. And then go to your Documents folder. And I've created a folder called My First Website. So these will have all of the codes necessary for the first website that I'm going to teach and showcase to you. And in this website folder, I have first HTML, and then I have CSS, and then I also have JavaScript. For now, we'll just be focusing on the HTML. I'll be teaching you CSS and JavaScript in future lessons. And there's also another folder called Assets. If you click onto it, I have images right here. You can put any assets you want, video, audio, so on and so forth, We'll be using this to demonstrate how to use such things as links and images in your HTML code. All right, let's go outside and to HTML. Right now I want you to open Visual Studio Code and then click on File, New File, type in main.html, enter, and choose the folder that you want to save in. In this case, I'm already in the HTML folder, and I'll save it as main.html one more time just to make sure, then create file. And then we already have an HTML file in the HTML folder. Now let's type in some code. I'm going to type doc type HTML, go down here, and we have HTML. The good thing about Visual Studio Code is that it closes the tag for you, so you don't have to write the same tag twice. In head, I have title, and I'm going to put it my first website. And then after the head, I have the body tag. Inside the body tag, I have the paragraph tag, or P, and I'm going to write my first paragraph. Yay! Right? Control S to save, and then let's see how it works. Let's go back to the HTML folder and open the main file in a browser. I'm going to click on it, and there it is. We have the title, my first website, and the paragraph as my first paragraph. Yay! All right. Now, I hope you remember how to download and install Visual Studio Code and then have a folder structure for your first website and some basic HTML syntax to see if everything is working properly. Okay, thank you for being here with me today, and remember to like and subscribe. I hope to see you next time. Goodbye. Hello everyone, welcome back to TinaTeach for our HTML lesson today. We'll be learning about HTML structure in lesson 3. So our goal for this lesson is diving deeper into the previous lesson's focus, learning more about the nitty-gritty of HTML structure and getting to know the tags that are commonly used. Okay, so all HTML documents must begin with a doc type HTML, right? Afterwards, you have to open with an HTML tag, right? And this HTML tag, like most tags, has to have an end tag right here. And the visible part of your code is in between the open body tag and the closing body tag. Let's dive deeper into the common tags that are often used by programmers. So the first tag is H1 or heading 1. And then you have H2, H3, H4, The numbers are really signifying the size of the heading. So you have H1, which is the biggest, and then you have H2, which is a bit smaller, H3 is a bit smaller, and so on and so forth. And remember, if you have an open tag, you must have a closing tag. Next, this tag we've seen before in lesson 1. This is the paragraph tag, or conveniently named P. Right? Once again, if you have an open tag, you must close it. Now, I just want to mention that the P tag displays the text inside of it as is. So if you want a new line, or you want to sort of, modify the text a little bit, maybe you want it bold or italic or whatever, you need to put in different tags. For example, if you want to have a text bold, you have to put it in between the B tag, right? So it's a whole different array. And the P tag is just a box for you to put in the text or the images or audio or whatever. But if you want to modify it, then you need to know some more extra tags. Next, links. Links are very easy to remember. It's A. Right? And A has an attribute called href, which is the source or the link itself. And within the A tag, you have the name of the link, right? So this will just show up as link. And once you click on it, it'll show up YouTube TinaTeach. Images is img, and you put the name of the image within src or source. And for the alt attribute shows up if for some reason the image doesn't load on the user's computer. So this is what will show up if TinaTeach.jpg does not run. It'll show up TinaTeach logo, all right? And next you can assign the width and the height, and that's it. An image is an empty tag, so you do not need to have an end tag for it. There's no such thing as this, right? No such thing. That's all we're gonna dive into today. We have H1, H2, H3. We have the P tag or paragraph tag, A for links, and img. I'm gonna go to my website folder, which is my first website, and then HTML, and open up my main HTML file in Visual Studio Code. Okay, as you can see here, we already have the P tag. So let's try H1. This is heading 1. H2. This is heading 2. H3. This is heading 3. Alright. Next up, let's use link. I'm going to put A, and then I'm going to teach YouTube. Copy this link up here, go back to Visual Studio, and paste it here. Close the tag, and let's see. I'm going to type it as TinaTeach YouTube link. Right? Now we have link done. What's next? Image tag. Go back to my HTML folder. Then let's create a new folder for images. And then put the image that I want to use in here. So I have TinaTeach logo. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code, image, and then TinaTeach logo.png. Alt, TinaTeach logo 200. Alright, that's it. Control S to save. There we go. Alright.
Okay, everyone, let's do a quick review. H1 for heading number 1, H2 for heading number 2, H3 for heading number 3, and the link tag is A. href is where you put the link in, right? This is the link. And then you have the name of the link inside of the A tag. Locate the folder and the image in source. Alt is what shows up if the image doesn't load, and you just specify the width and the height. And lastly, it is P for paragraph. That's it. Thank you for being with me here today. I hope to see you again. Remember to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye.
Hello everyone, welcome back to TinaTeach HTML lesson number 4. This time is all about elements. Our goal for today is defining what are HTML elements and the different types of elements that we'll be using as we program. So first of all, what are elements? So elements are anything that you include inside of your file from start to finish. For example, H1, the heading, P, paragraph, BR is a break line, is an empty tag, so you don't need to have an end tag for it. You use it inside of a paragraph, for example, like the P tag, to, go to a new line as you type, because you don't want the user to see like a whole chunk of text. Next is body. Body is the tag that displays everything that you want the user to see. And div for division, just sections within a website. As I've mentioned before, we have an empty element or an empty tag, BR. It has no content and it does not need to have an end tag, right? You just need, to type some text and then you add BR, right? And then continue with some text as is. Next is nested elements. It is elements that contain another elements. It's like you putting stuff inside of a box, right? The stuff inside of the box can be said to be nested inside of the box. For example, we have the head tag and the title tag is inside of it. So we can say that the title tag is nested inside of the head tag. Similarly with the heading 1 or H1, it is nested inside of the body tag. Okay, now an end tag. If you exclude the end tag, for example, like body or P or div, for some elements it would display, the information correctly. But then again, it will generate unpredictable behaviors as well as possible errors. So it's best to be, consistent and universal in how you code. So it's best to have an end tag, all right? HTML is not case sensitive. What do I mean by that? So H3 is the same as H3, regardless of whether or not you capitalize the H. But once again, it is very much like the end tag. It's recommended to keep everything consistent, and it's easier when you code with other people and they have to read your code, or you take some break off of coding and then you go back and you look at your file again. It makes it easier for you to process through all of that. So it's recommended to keep it consistent, lowercase for less confusion and readability. Okay, before we end our lesson, I would like to show a quick demonstration of the new tags that I've introduced to you today, which is the BR or, break tag and div for division. Okay, I'm going to open Visual Studio Code up here. And I'm already inside of my main HTML file, which is inside of my first website folder and then HTML, all right? So I would like to demonstrate to you the break tag or BR tag. So before that, I would like to word wrap my document. Go to View and Word Wrap or Alt-C. And I'm just going to paste this a lot of times. Okay. Let's say you press enter and you paste more and you press enter and you paste more.
Control S to save, and let's open the file up in a browser. As you can see here, there are no new lines. It's not very nice to look at. So let's go back and put a break here, a break here, and a break here. Control S to save, go back to your browser, and there we go, restart. As you can see, new line, it goes down to a new line, very easy to process through, right? And the next tag is the div tag that I want to show you. Let's go down. We'll put a heading inside of here, and let's make up something silly, something dumb, right? The biggest elephant, for example. Let's just go with it, right? And down here we have the P tag. The biggest elephant was found in Africa, let's say, right? And then I'm going to put a BR. He was around 100 years old, period, and BR one more time. Researchers found him in 1989. And then we're going to put a link, an A tag. Let's go back to our browser and search up elephant, right? Let's go to image. Let's copy the link here, go back to Visual Studio Code and paste the link in here. Quite a long link. And let's put it elephant link. Control S to save. Go back to my first website, restart it. There you go. See? The biggest elephant. The biggest elephant was found in Africa. New line. He was around 100 years old. New line. Researchers found him in 1989. And we can click on the elephant link, and it brings us to Google. So thank you for being here with me today. I hope you managed to understand and remember all of that. I hope to see you next time. Remember to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye. Hello everyone. Welcome back to TinaTeach HTML lesson number 5. Today our focus will be attributes. So first of all, we're going to figure out what are attributes, how do we use it, and how can we code it properly. So let's have a quick rundown on what attributes are in the basic sense. Attributes are the properties of elements, and all elements can have attributes, right? Like p, div, body, HTML, and it is always specified at the start tag. So the first tag that you have, for example, HTML or body. So there's nothing inside of the end tag. The end tag is just the end tag to everything. And it is usually in pairs. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at some examples. A, or link. The href attributes. It gives the URL so you can click on the link and it will direct you to that URL. And this is the syntax for link. As you can see, href is the attribute of A, and it is in the beginning tag or the start tag. It is not in the end tag whatsoever. And this is what I mean when they come in pairs. You have first the property and then their values inside of quotes. That is a pair. You need to have the name and then you have the value. img tag or image. The source or src attributes defines the route or the path, aka the source of the image that you want to use in your website. And as I've said here, it gives the path of an image for the img tag. And then the alt attribute, it is what will be displayed if the image doesn't load somehow, like bad connection, or there's some issue with the browser on the user end. It is an empty tag, so there's no end tag. You have the img source attribute, and then the value in quotes, and then the alt attribute and its value in quotes. Come in pairs, see? 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, last but not least, the width and the height of the img tag. If you want to have an image, obviously you have to define what's the width and what's the height. It's very simple. It's very much like the src or the alt attribute. You just have the width and the height and their value in quotes, and it is in pixels. Alright, let's move on to the attribute of style. Style can be applied to any element in the HTML file. So what style does is, it's in its name, it applies decorations or styling to an element. For example, if you want to have the margin of an element bigger, or you want to change the color, the background, so on and so forth. Right? So I have an example here for the P tag. You put in the style, the name of the attribute, then you have the value of the attribute in quotes. For this value, we have font size, and it is 50 pixels. Next, the attribute for the HTML tag. So lang is shorthand for language. It's very easy to understand. And this is to help browsers navigate the language that you're using for your website, right? And if you're using English, you can just go with EN title. And this title is not to be mistaken with the title tag in the head tag, right? This is an attribute of the elements, and what this does is, if you hover on an element, let's say a button or a paragraph, it'll show you a little extra information that you want to put in. I'll show you this in a bit. I'll showcase everything that we've studied here. So here we have a div tag and we have the title attribute. So I've made a little mistake here. I'm going to fix this real quick. All right. And I have the title attribute here for our div element, and it said div tooltip, right? So if you hover your mouse over this text right here in your website, there will be a little pop-up that says div tooltip. All right, now let's dive into some general rules that you have to follow in order to write good, cohesive, and concise codes. First is lowercase. A lot of HTML is really lowercase. It's from the tags, from the style, same with CSS, and from the attributes, right? HTML by itself is not strict by any means. You can really just wing it with the capitalization. But for a concise and cohesive code, use lowercase when it is common and standard to do so. So instead of writing all capital letters like with, you can just simply write lowercase. And it is standard practice that everyone writes this. If you look at an HTML file anywhere, usually it would be lowercase when lowercase is common to be. Next is quoting values. So as I've demonstrated before, an attribute has a name, right? And then it has its own value. And its value is often in quotes, double or single quotes. Once again, it is not mandatory. It is recommended to do what is common and what is standard, because obviously coding is very hard, and it's very hard for you to just read through the codes and for everyone else to read through the codes if you need help. And especially for strict HTML files like XHTML, it really needs you to follow certain protocols. Now that we're done with that, we know that we do really need quotes. So do we use single or do we use double quotes, right? It doesn't really matter if you use single quotes or double quotes for your own standard. And if the value itself contains a quote, let's see here. If it contains a double quotes, then you have to quote your value in single quotes, right? So this double quotes right here will get included, otherwise the HTML be kind of confused. And if you want to use single quotes in your value, you have to use the double quotes, vice versa. Let's do a quick showcase. Open Visual Studio Code one more time. And I have in my main file. All right. So all of these for the previous lesson, I'm just going to delete it so you can easily see. Control S to save. And let's go with the first thing, which is link. You can see this as a sort of review. href, double quotes, and let's paste in the link. Okay, close it, and let's just say YouTube link image. Let's see. Let's type in the name of the path, images, and the logo. Alt teach logo width. Let's put 500. Height the same. Alright. Then close this. And then let's add a title for them. Let's add a title attribute. I'm going to put it at the back here. Title. Image. Title. Let's see. I'm going to put please click. Alright. And then let's move on to the style. Okay. Red. Border. You'll learn about this attribute in future lessons, but it just really puts borders. Borders solid, and let's go with blue. Alright. Contrast, and there you have it. You click on the link. Oh, if you hover on the link, you can see the title. Same here. Alright. Let's click it. Goes to the YouTube channel. Alright. That's it for today's lesson. I hope to see you next time. Remember, learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye. Hello everyone. Welcome back to HTML lesson number 6. Today we'll be diving in deeper about headings. Our goal for today's lesson is learning how to be more flexible with your headings and sort of get a grasp on how and why headings are so important. Okay, let's tackle first question. Why are they important? So, as you know, browsers and search engines do automatically sort of index and figure out the structure of your website, right? So they know, where to put your website, what's inside of your website, and SEO and all of that. So, and headings make it easier for browsers like Google or Firefox to handle your website. And you really do want them to handle it properly because, as we know, most of the handling is done by the computer. It's not done manually. And the second part is that it's easier for the users. It makes for great UI because the user usually skim your content, right? And they get interested just by the heading. A lot of people don't have time to be looking through everything. Next up, I've introduced to you heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3, right? But we actually also have heading 4, heading 5, and heading 6. This is in the order of importance, right? So H1 is the most important, so it would be the biggest size. And then you have heading 2, which is less important, a bit smaller. Heading 3, less important, a bit smaller. And it just go down, right? And I do want to mention something is that browsers also add some spaces before and after headings by default. And that's basically margin. It adds margin into your headings. So if you put a style that increases a margin of your heading in your HTML file, that will be added to the default margin that browsers put on the headings. Okay, now we know that headings themselves have default sizes. What if you don't want the size? You don't want the default size. You want to make it a little bigger or a little smaller, right? You can always use style. So I just want to make a quick mention that this style is evoking CSS. If you're going to code quite a large website, with thousands and thousands of lines, it's not really recommended to have such a large section of style in the HTML tag. This is usually just when you want, a little bit of decoration. But if you want something extensive, you really need a separate CSS file to handle all of that for you, because it really does make navigation way easier. But then again, this is not completely useless, because it sacrifices a bit of navigation for the sake of quick performance, quick coding. All right, you can do with style, font size 100 pixels, and then at the heading, and then close the tag. That's it. All right, let's do a quick demonstration. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and let's add a font size, right? Let's add a heading and then a font size. I'm gonna go with H2 this time. Heading 2, style, font size, 100 pixel. Ctrl S to save. Go back to your website. Boom. There we go. Okay. Now you can adjust it to see how it changes. 70, right? Let's make it 10. All right. Thank you for being with me here today. Remember to like and subscribe, and learn today better tomorrow. Goodbye. Hello everyone. Welcome back to TinaTeach HTML lesson number 7, paragraph. Our goal for today is figuring out how we can style the HTML tag P and ways that we can format it and not just have a chunk of text in our website. Okay, so what you need to know beforehand that with P, div, H1 or anything like that, the browsers will remove any extra white spaces and new lines by default. So it doesn't matter if you read a poem, for example, that has multiple new lines, it's just going to be one chunk of text after another in the website. So you can't really format it like how you would with a text document, right? As you can see here, I have an example. It doesn't matter if you write like this or you write it like this. Any new line or any spaces here, it will all be formatted like this in the website. So I'm going to introduce some new tags for you to figure out how you can style and format with P, with the paragraphs and all. So first off, we have HR. So this is a thematic break. You can use it to divide content into different sections. So this is how you use it. First, you have the headings, and then you have the paragraph with the P tag, and then a thematic break, HR tag, and then another heading, another section, another paragraph, and another break, another division. I will showcase you all of this in a later part. Okay, next is line breaks or BR. I've introduced this one to you before. BR is it introduces a new line or a line break to your paragraph. You can put it wherever in your paragraph if you want a new line or a line break. Here's the introduction of a new tag, pre. So pre is very much like P, but it is for pre-formatted text. So as I've mentioned before, any white spaces or new line that exists in P will be ignored by the browser. However, if you put it in pre or pre-formatted text, all of those white spaces, all of those lines will be accounted for. Alright, so pre is short for pre-formatted text, right? It accounts for all of the new lines and extra white spaces that you put in your paragraph. All of these spaces, the new line, and so on and so forth will be displayed, right? This will be displayed as is in your browser. Okay, so let's do a bit of demonstration. I'm going to load up my Visual Studio Code, Alt-Z to wrap text, and then I'm going to delete all of this. Okay, first let's have the P, and then let's put in a little bit of text. Lately, I've started new line to accept the fact capitalize, it's likely my soulmate will just be my cat. Next up, let's try pre. And then we're going to copy and paste the same thing. Copy. Let's add some spacing. Okay, Control S to save, and let's see how it is. So as you can see here, this is the P tag, and there's no formatting, it's just text after text, and this is what the pre-formatted tag does. Alright, so let's try break line, Control S to save, let's go back. Alright, now as you can see, there's a new line, but I want the spaces in between the lines. So I'm going to put another BR down here. Control S to save. Now I don't want all of these lines here. So what I'm going to do is, let's move them back. Okay, let's move them back. Control S to save. There we go. Now, what about HR? Let's try HR, right? Copy the section here, paste it down here. Instead of BR, I'm going to put HR. Okay, let's see what happens if we delete all of these line breaks here. Control S to save. Alright, so this is how it is. What happens if you put two HRs? Control S to save. Well, there you go. Now, I want a little bit of spacing in between these different sections of poems. So usually my way is I'm going to put 2 BR at the end of each paragraph. Control S to save, F5 to restart. That's it. Okay, everyone, thank you for being with me here today. Remember to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye. Hello, everyone. Welcome to HTML text formatting. Our goal for today's lesson is to figure out how you can make your text look more dynamic, right? What if you want a text bold? What if you want it underlined, italic, And that's what we're going to figure out today. Okay, I'm going to introduce to you the most common basic text formatting tags, and then we'll have a little demonstration. B for bold, strong for important, I for italic, M for emphasize, and mark for marked. It's very easy to memorize all of this, and if you use them, a few times, they'll become natural to you. Small for smaller, del for delete, ins for inserted, sub for subscript, and sub for superscript. I just want to mention that none of these are empty tags, so you do need to have a start or beginning tag and then an end tag. And the text in between those two tags are the ones that you want to modify. Okay, so let's have a little demonstration. I'm going to boot up my Visual Studio Code. We already have some text that we had in lesson number 8. I'm going to link lesson number 8 above. And this is what we're working with. So let's make this text a little bit more dynamic. First is the bold. I'm going to put this in bold. Okay. And then next is italic. Let's have this one be strong, so we can see the difference between bold and strong. And then emphasize. I want to see the difference between italic and emphasize. Then marked. Let's make this whole sentence marked. Remember to Control S to save occasionally. And next up is small. Let's go down here. Let's go for small. And del for delete. And then ins for inserted. And let's see, we'll make this sub for subscript. And then we'll make this one superscript. Okay, Control S to save and see what our website looks like. And it's very simple, very easy. You can experiment around and see what you like, what you don't like. And there's not a lot of memorization. There's not a lot of things you need to, understand. It's just very simple. Let's go through it one more time. Bold, important, italic, emphasize, mark, small, deleted, inserted, subscript, and superscript. Thank you for being with me here today. Remember to click that like and subscribe button. See you next time. Remember, learn today, better tomorrow. Goodbye. Hello everyone, welcome back to HTML, quotations, and citation. What's the goal for this lesson? The goal for this lesson is to know what you can do if you want to display quotations, abbreviations, or citations in your website. It's very simple. It's like text formatting. Let's go through all of these common ones. Block quote, Q, ABBR, address, site, and video, right? Let's go through each of them one at a time. Block quote. Block quote is reserved for quotations. It has a specific text formatting as well. And it lays out a section quoted from another source. So you do need to, copy and paste the link of the source. And the browsers automatically indent the block quote. So block quote have its own text formatting. And this is the syntax, right? Block quote exists by itself. You shouldn't put it in P. It should be outside of a paragraph tag. Next, Q. Q is for quotations, but the short ones. So the browsers would usually put in quotation marks automatically. This is what it looks like. For Q, you can put it in the P tag, right? It can be a nested element. So you have the title and you have the Q. Next up, ABBR. I think it's very obvious by its name. It's short for abbreviations. And you can actually use the title attribute to show what the abbreviations stand for when you hover the mouse over it. And then address showcases your contact information, whatever you want to put it in. Maybe you want a URL, maybe you want some social media attachments, and it is italic by default. And address is reserved for any contact information that you want to put in. Maybe you want to attach a URL, or you want your address or your social media handles and whatnot, right? And the styling is italic by default. The browsers will also add a BR or a line break before and after the ABBR tag. Last but not least, video. Video stands for bidirectional override. what does that mean? You know, maybe you don't want the text from left to right, you want it from right to left. You can use the video for that, right? And RTL stands for right to left. But if you don't want that, you can go LTR for left to right. All right, that's it for theories. Let's move on to a little bit of practice. Let's boot up Visual Studio Code. I'm going to delete all of these tags right here to make it easier for you to see. Let's go with P, quote for lorem ipsum. And then let's have a block quote down here. And I'm going to paste the text, Alt-C to wrap it. And block quote has an attribute called cite, which you cite the source. Control S to save. Oh, I'm actually going to change this to block quote. Right, block quote. Let's have some break line to further separate different sections. Now let's do short quotations for lorem ipsum. And then I'm going to put Q, copy, and let's add a bit of styling so we can differentiate the different elements. I'm going to make this color red. And up here, I'm going to make the color blue. Contrast to save. Okay, let's put 2 line breaks. P for, let's see, abbreviations, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to put a style here as well. Color blue. Contrast to save. And style, let's make this yellow. ABBR. Let's put a title in here. Hypertext Markup Language. I'll put in here HTML. Alright? Once again, 2 line breaks. Okay, now let's do address. Address. Let's go down. New line. Gmail. Let's see. TinaTeach.IELTS @gmail.com. And then let's see, YouTube. Oh, don't forget the BR, break line. YouTube, I'm gonna add in a link, href, and then paste the link. And let's see, put the link in here. Let's add styling for this as well. Let's make this color, let's see. Okay, let's go for aquamarine. Last, BDO. BDO, the attribute DRI, short for direction. Let's do right to left. Right to left. And let's add some styling. Color is, let's see. I'll go for dark olive green. Control S to save. As you can see here, let's hover over this. Hypertext markup language. Alright, so this is for block quotes, and it has an indentation as you can see, and short quotations have their own quotation marks. And the abbreviation is a bit hard to see, so let's change the color. Instead of yellow, let's do something else. Let's do brown. Control S to save. There we go. Hover over it, and you get the full name. And here for address, as you can see, it's italic by default. Click on the link. Go to the TinaTeach YouTube channel. Alright? Now let's go back and right to left for BDO. Thank you for being with me here today. I hope to see you next time. And remember to click that like and subscribe button. See you next time. Goodbye.